Hello! So do I still love it, or should I list it? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a follow-up to my top 7 reasons why I love the Xbox Series S. Which, by the way, that video has well over 100,000 views so far. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to put it in the cards above. That way you can check it out after this video is done. But Handsome Nation, I cannot thank you guys enough. It has been an amazing ride over the past month and a half since I picked up the Xbox Series S. Now, over this month and a half that I've had this beast, I've put in well over 500 hours of game time on the Xbox Series S. We've done a ton of live streams. We featured a ton of games that you can download right now straight from Xbox Game Pass. It's been an amazing ride. But with all that being said, the Xbox Series S, well, it hasn't been perfect. So in this video, we're going to talk about the great, the good, and the ugly. So first things first, let's talk about the great, the awesome, the amazing parts of the Xbox Series S. So of course, here in the US, you could pick this up for $299, $300. And actually compared to the PS5, compared to the Xbox Series X, compared to the PS5 digital version, the Xbox Series S is probably the easiest console to pick up, just moseying around your local Target, Walmart, Best Buy. You might see one there, or you might be able to find one online. So not only is it the least expensive, but right now, it's the easiest one to find. I really do love the form factor and how small this actually is. It's just an amazing piece of technical genius. Now, another big question that most people have, since this is an all digital version, there's no disk drive, so you gotta store everything on the internal SSD, is storage. Is storage an issue? Let me yell this from the rooftop. The storage issue can be fixed. So you might ask, well, how do you fix it? Well, you fix it by picking up an external hard drive. Yes, it's not gonna be as fast. Yes, you cannot run next generation games on the external hard drive. However, you can store next generation games on this hard drive. This one's packing 4 terabytes, people. A lot of people, they don't even have 4 terabytes of games stored up, so it's not that big of a deal. Not to mention the transfer speeds from this drive to the internal SSD is about 10 gigabytes per minute. So be that as it may, however big the game is, if the game's 100 gigabytes, then it'll take about 10 minutes to transfer the data from the external hard drive to the internal SSD. Is it really that big of a deal that the internal SSD is only 512 gigabytes? I don't think it is. Now, of course, 1 terabyte would be so much better, but then maybe they would have to increase the cost. So maybe this was kind of smart on Xbox's behalf, knowing that a lot of people, especially in these other countries other than the United States, they don't have a lot of spare change going around. So to get a next generation console for $299 or however much it costs in their country at a low price, you kind of can't fault them. But for reals, guys and gals, that only affects the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S next generation optimized games. But if the game is from a previous generation, then guess what, guys? The external hard drive, you can run the games directly off this external hard drive. You don't need to transfer it to the internal SSD. So with my setup, I got about 4.5 terabytes worth of storage to store all these games from Game Pass or any future games that I purchase. It's just... So if you use it wisely, storage is not an issue. So you might think, with the size of the Xbox Series S and the graphical power of the Xbox Series S, does it get hot? Does the fan run pretty loud? Is it going to sound like a helicopter when you're playing some pretty graphically intensive games? Well, I'm happy to report that over all my gaming sessions, through all my games, through the 500 plus hours of gaming, this thing is whisper quiet. Whisper quiet. I mean, yes, I don't have a monitor or a TV that can pump out 120 frames per second. So the max that I've been able to push this baby is to 1440p, 60 frames per second. But still, like I said, whisper quiet. I mean, honestly guys, I get more background noise from my kids yelling and screaming across the freaking apartment than I do from the Xbox that's located right underneath the microphone. So another thing that I've really been enjoying with my Xbox Series S would have to be the new controller. Yes, this blue one is not the one that comes in the box. The one that comes in the box is the white one. But I wanted to add a little color to this video, so I brought my blue controller out. So since I put in all these hours of gameplay, I've kind of mashed the controller quite a few times, especially during frustrating situations, if you know what I mean. And as far as dexterity and soreness in the hands and like finger fatigue and all that stuff that you can get from playing a lot of games, I haven't really experienced it with this new and updated controller. Yes, side by side to last generation's controller, you may not even notice a difference, but you can feel the difference. This textured grip on the back does a great job at keeping this controller inside of my hands, as well as the textured grip on your trigger buttons. It keeps the controller firmly in your hands, even during like sweaty gaming sessions. So with all that praise and accolades about the new Xbox Series S, well, there are a few things that I'm not so thrilled about. Since we last talked about the controller, let's start off with the controller. Now, I don't know if it's a hardware issue, if it's a software issue, I don't know. But sometimes when I've been gaming for a while, the controller, the connectivity would just cut out. And that's why sometimes when you see me live streaming and you see on the screen like connect controller, press A, that sort of stuff, that's not my doing. That's just the connectivity issues from the controller to the Xbox Series S. So that also means that if you have a wired headset connected to the controller, then there are going to be some times when your audio actually does cut out. And it's quite annoying, to say the least. Now, as far as I can tell, the audio is still coming out of the Xbox Series S to the TV, to the live stream, and all that other good stuff. It's just you, the player, you can't hear, you know, the audio cuts out, and it's, like I said, it's annoying. So with the connectivity issues, I tried to remedy it with this bad boy right here, the SteelSeries Arctic 9X wireless. And I know I haven't featured this on the channel yet, so I'll do a full review of this later. But since this connects to your Xbox Series S the same way the controller does, we have the same connectivity and audio issues. So yeah. Now I have noticed that it's an issue with next generation games that are optimized for the Series X and S. Previous generation games, not so much. But it tends to happen after you've been playing it for a while and when it's loading new maps or a new level or a new screen or something like that, and it's graphically intensive, then it kind of bogs down the connectivity that you have with the controller to the Xbox Series S. At least that's what I gather. So let's move from connectivity to crashes. Yes, I have experienced a couple crashes in the game while I'm playing the game. The thing about crashes is you don't know when it's going to happen. So, of course, when you reload the game, it's going to revert back to your last save spot. So if your last save spot was a while back, then man,
you're screwed.
But thankfully, when the games have crashed and I had to exit out and reload the game again, the spot where I start at isn't that far back. Now, of course, with these next generation consoles, those are going to take some time for the next generation games and previous generation games to be fully optimized and weatherproof on the new and next generation consoles. And the last truly bad and kind of ugly thing with the Xbox Series S, I'm gonna have to flip this around to show you guys. And that's gonna have to be ports and Bluetooth. Now, as you can see, we got the Ethernet port, we got two high-speed USB-As, HDMI out. Here's where you're gonna put your expansion card if you wanna pay 200 something bucks for 1 terabyte of an expansion card. You got your power, and then you got the little thing where you can tie it to a desk or something so nobody can steal it. There's no optical audio port here, which prior to the SteelSeries that I just showed you guys, I got another SteelSeries and I needed an optical port to connect it to the audio to my Xbox Series S, and there was none to be found. Now, I know it's kind of nitpicking and not everybody's gonna need an optical audio port, but in this case, I needed it. So because of that, I could not use the previous SteelSeries headset that I picked up. In my experience, I use the audio optical port for every device that I possibly can. It is cool that light travels from your TV, from your device to your speakers or whatever. And I don't know, it's just pretty amazing and cool technology. And because of the speed, goes at the speed of light, the bit rate and the sound and the quality is top notch. So I was pretty bummed to find that out. So on to Bluetooth. The accessories part on the Xbox Series X and S, it's kind of lacking. And that is because as of right now, you cannot just connect any Bluetooth headset to your Xbox Series S. So your options for a lot of accessories are very limited. Either you're going wired or you're picking up the SteelSeries Arctic 9X that works and connects just like your Xbox controller. So I don't know if you noticed at the beginning that I may or may not have forgotten to mention or showcase the graphical powers of the Xbox Series S. So a few weeks ago on the Xbox Game Pass, they released the DLC for Gears 5. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called Gears Hivebusters. Oh my goodness. I swear, I think they released this to showcase just how awesome and how graphically powerful the Xbox Series S and X can be. Now, there is a caveat to this. When I was streaming this, I was streaming at 1080p, 60 frames per second. But live and in person, oh my, delicioso. It looked so freaking good. So without further ado, here's a little taste.
The hell is that stench? Think I found the answer to my question. Hope the others made it. Anybody there?
Teams back together.
Now what? You all follow the beacon, right? Let's find a way up to it. Hey, little help.
This place more by the minute.
It's dropping leeches! Leeches in the water!
Well, at least now we have some idea about the mission.
We must be the first wave of troops to send it in.
Oh, that's what I'm missing.
Guess the radio's not here.
The entire cockpit ain't here, Grabs. So what's the plan if we find that precious radio smashed to pieces?
We're through!
To this door, Scorpio. Give me a hand.
Peaceful.
Never thought I'd see where my family came from. Even with all the stories and memories she shared. Brad never told me why she left.
Any of your family still live here?
Distant relatives, I'm sure. Guess I should introduce myself. Feels like an odd way to reconnect, you know? Marching in, middle of the night.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be given a warm welcome. Not every day a band of armed soldiers wanders into town.
Well, hopefully they'll be understanding given our rather dire circumstances.
scared them off.
Even the swarm must recognize the god of Bahanu.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that segment along with my talking head of the Xbox Series S. I've been trying my best to put it through its paces, to put an actual review out of what I'm actually dealing with the actual Xbox Series S, with no fluff and no game, just straight up honest talk. So if you guys would do me a huge favor and please subscribe and click the notification bell to make sure you're in the loop for all things Handsome Gadgets. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up before you leave, as it definitely helps out the channel quite a bit. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Handsome Gadgets. Thank you and have a good one.